Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Full Throttle Finance, a financial literacy podcast that's geared towards dissecting complex financial topics into fun, relatable discussions. I am Felicia, and I am your CEO at Clean Bee Consulting, and with me is Allison, who is our senior bookkeeper. Together, we focus on revving up the financial foundations for athletes, entrepreneurs, and leaders in business, regardless if you're operating from an established program already or if you are just starting out. We are here to help you make small shifts that drive better financial performance.
Thank you, Felicia. In our last episode, we talked about the Daytona 200, Bike Week in Florida, and how all this impacts the economy. Florida thrives on tourism, and we talk about how the 500,000 people that attended the Daytona 200 each year can help a business survive during the slow months if you can plan accordingly. We had so much fun talking about the 200 and its history, and we hope you all enjoyed hearing about it as much as we enjoyed talking about it. This week, we're going to continue to talk about something fun. Have you heard the news buzzing around regarding a private equity purchase of the historical Willow Springs International Raceway Complex? Felicia, do you want to bring our listeners up to speed, please?
Yeah, this is a fun one that I've been following actually for quite a long time, even before I'd say the property became listed for sale last year. But Willow Springs International Raceway is a motorsport facility located in Rosamond, California. It's roughly about 90 miles away from Los Angeles, and it is a huge 600-acre facility that has a lot of different racetracks. There's a 2.5-mile road course that has earned the reputation as the fastest road in the West. Fun fact, I have ridden it. It is so incredibly bumpy, and newsflash, I did not go very fast. There's a 1.8-mile smaller circuit called Streets of Willow that is also a road course. And that is actually my favorite California track, which a lot of people really don't like Streets of Willow, but I adore Streets of Willow. There's a 1-mile road course called Horse Thief Mile, which is fun to watch. I've never ridden it. I have a few friends who have ridden it. There's also a Willow Springs kart track there, a paved and autocross drifting track. There's also a paved oval, and the Walt James Stadium has a paved and clay oval track as well, too. So it is just like a motorsport haven over there. And the SoCal weather really allows the facility to operate the entire year, right? It hosts race events, driving schools, track days, and even TV and movie productions. And we're talking for decades. The track essentially has operated nonstop since it's opened, and it's super historic. You know, I've watched motorsports on TV for decades, and it is just a track that like shows up over and over and over again on all these different car shows, bike events, and everything too. So
I read that the raceway's been owned by the same family since it opened in 1953. And I also read something like some 5 generations have flowed through the family operation, which is so cool. I think it's crazy that a property like this even comes on sale, like on the market.
yeah, the sale for this one, like I said, it's been ongoing for a while, and it's been unique to follow. Being in the SoCal scene, I always heard rumors of things people wanted to do with the raceway, but nothing really ever transpired while I lived in California. But in June of 2024, the complex actually listed to the market for sale. It was at an undisclosed price. And it's been pretty hush-hush until very recently I read on the drive that a sale is pending, and it's to be finalized with a private equity firm. And, you know, the key takeaways that I got from reading the private equity firm's statement is that they're, excited to preserve the legacy and enthusiast access to one of America's most iconic racing facilities while also setting up the property for growth and success.
Well, and private equity, those words don't always come with good feelings.
Nope.
If you've ever watched Yellowstone, you know what I'm talking about. Take the accounting industry, right? Private equity swoops in to purchase accounting firms like ours. The prices then go up, and they outsource all the work to either robots or overseas workers to focus on profits while quality of the work is suffering. I'm sure there's a lot of uncertainty around such a historic landmark being potentially falling victim to another money-hungry private equity attempt.
I know, yeah. Private equity in the accounting world, it is most certainly not a good thing, honestly. In most situations, me, I'm usually anti-private equity. And, I just like to keep things small and local, right? That's how you stretch and make your money go further, in my opinion. But not all private equity firms are created equal. And as with most things in today's world, it is easy to just fall in line with what we're familiar with. But at Full Throttle Finance, even with ourselves, we always try to shift that mindset. So looking at this from a different perspective, what could we gain if a solid, ethical, results-driven private equity firm entered the picture for the sale? And that's what we're going to dive into today.
Yeah, so I'm just going to start with in 1996, the Raceway was named California Point of Historical Interest. So I'd guess with that kind of recognition, the new owners will be somewhat restricted in what they can change, or at least they'll have to probably keep a certain parts intact, right, Felicia? I know there's been a lot of talk of potentially turning this into another thermal club where it's a private members only type club that outprices the average enthusiast budget, but do we think that's what they're going to do?
I mean, we don't know until it happens. We won't know until things start to unfold. But with all the research that I've done into this equity firm, my gut leans towards no. The only official statement that we've been given as the public is that they specifically stated that they're going to preserve the legacy and enthusiast access. And, the accessibility and the price of spirited fun is really part of what makes Willow Springs the legacy that it is. So I would seriously be shocked if that's what's at play here with this private equity. I feel like given how long the property has been in the market, I think that there was a lot of thought and a lot of consideration that's gone into landing at the final agreement with the right party that makes everybody happy.
Plus, we did a bunch of research on the private equity firm Cross Harbor Capital Partners. Once we found out they were the intended purchasers, and we're just girls. And of course, we're going to do all the detective FBI agent, and detective learn everything we can learn about them. We can dive into some of those details next, but they passed the vibe check, didn't they, Felicia?
I mean, I don't really trust anyone until they physically show me what they're doing with their actions. But yes, they definitely passed the paper vibe checks for me as of right now. The firm has been in business for over 31 years. So what that shows me is that they know stability. They've invested in over 30 billion into different projects, which shows me that they go big or go home kind of a thing. And they seem to specialize in real estate investments and revitalizations that stem specifically from distressed properties, which I think Willow Springs kind of falls into a distressed property. It needs some love and attention and some care. Although they don't have experience with a motorsport raceway specifically, they do have a number of investment portfolios for other recreational facilities like ski resorts and golf courses.
Okay, so let's talk about one of these projects. Yellowstone Club, Big Sky, Montana. In 2008, Yellowstone Club, a private ski and golf community, was in the midst of a messy bankruptcy. The principal owner had taken out a large loan, used the club as collateral, and was being sued by his limited partners while going through a divorce. In 2009, Cross Harbor acquired the bankrupt club. They invested significant capital to restore its financial health and enhance amenities and expand skiable terrain. Cross Harbor ended up leading the club out of bankruptcy by July of 2009 and infused additional $100 million in working capital to get the club up and going again, which doesn't sound like the normal actions of a private equity firm taking over. Now, does it?
No. Yeah, I liked reading about the Yellowstone Club deal. Cross Harbor co-founder Sam Byrne was the one who actually fell in love with the property to begin with and who saw its potential. A few quotes that I came across that kind of spoke to his character and stuck with me. One of them was that he said, "The more complicated and broken, the better. As a distressed investor, I have the conviction around doing things when other people are fearful." And to me, that speaks of a really good leader. Those are really, really great leadership traits, in my opinion. And it's important to note that the club did not make much money in the first few years once Cross Harbor came in, because they were actually committed to making good on the club's debts, because that was super important to them. And they knew that that's where their focus needed to be, because they needed to regain the trust of the community that was built around this club. They seemed to understand just how important community was going to be in the rebuilding phases of the restoration. They knew that they weren't going to be successful if they didn't work to mend their surrounding vendor relationships that had frayed due to non-payment and debt and all of the issues that led them into bankruptcy.
You just want to give them a round of applause all around for that
Right?
one. You know what I mean?
Love that. We love that.
We love that. I read a key element of the bankruptcy plan was to actually pay every single debt they owed at 100 cents on the dollar, meaning they didn't negotiate. They settled their debts. They settled their debts in full for the amount they owed. They knew that they had to repair the relationships that they had made in the community first before they could focus on generating new revenues, which is insane. Sam knew that in order for the club to rebuild, he needed the strength of the community behind him for support, which is wild. The Boston-based millionaire essentially rallying with the community in a Montana ski town to rebuild, which is insane. Private equity gets a lot of shit, but it's examples like this that really resonate with me.
I agree. I really don't see cases like this often, but almost every single recreational facility project that I looked into that Cross Harbor has been involved with has had a similar story behind it, just like Yellowstone Club. And they've also partnered with local entities surrounding some of their projects in places like Montana, specifically to address housing affordability and community needs, because they invest in all these different projects in all these different sectors. I think these are all super positive traits that really speak to the character of their organization. The past actions definitely make me more optimistic about the enhancements that they could bring to Willow Springs while still preserving the legacy and the enthusiast access as they've stated in their quotes.
I really feel like Cross Harbor has potential. I feel like we might actually see something good come of all of this. What do you think? Do you think this is going to be another overpriced condominium situation? Or rather, what kind of changes would you like to see Cross Harbor bring to Willow Springs?
I actually really hope not, Allison.
Yeah.
I'm seriously tired of the mini cabins and the pricey townhomes and the condos at the track. The hobby and sport is expensive enough. We don't need more rich people clubs. We just don't need that. Honestly, I think that there's a really big potential in what I would love to see is some sort of hotel lodging, multi-room building type of a situation pop up. I feel like I haven't really seen that done in the United States at a motorsport facility, really. Expanding something on the history side with a museum would be really cool too. Sustainability through food, on-site restaurants that, work with the California farms to bring farm to table food.
I was about to say, which matches the whole California vibe right there, which would be super cool.
Exactly. And, Cross Harbor has a lot of experience with hotel renovations and turnarounds, and just in general, a lot of success within the hospitality industry in general. This does seem like a really cool opportunity to create a really fun motorsport geared destination. Just imagine somewhere you could rent a hotel room, go to the go-kart track and go karting yourself, go watch cars go around at the track, watch bikes go around at a different track, even participate in a track day yourself, visit the on-site museum, go to your hotel room to wash up, catch dinner at the hotel lobby farm-to-table restaurant, and then end your night watching cars at a drag strip while kicking back a couple of cold ones at an on-site bar. That really sounds like a whole lot of fun shit that I would love to sign up for and throw my money at.
For real. Take my money.
At an affordable rate.
At affordable rate. I just think it's always fun to dream big and hope that something could be cool and affordable. And sometimes we just like daydreaming, and I just think it keeps us young. But it'll be really cool to see how this all pans out. I think this is a good place to wrap this all up. We appreciate you tuning in and taking steps to strengthen your financial foundations. If you found today's insights valuable, be sure to join us again next week. You can learn more about us at cleanbeeconsulting.com. That's CLEANBEE consulting.com. And of course, if you're interested in working with us directly, you can still schedule a consultation on our site. Be sure to subscribe and join us next week as we continue to break down finances with a motorsport twist. We'll see you next Friday.